You're sitting in the dealership. The salesperson just did that thing where they disappear for 20 minutes to talk to their manager. They come back with a number, and the number isn't a price. It's a monthly payment. We can get you into this for $580 a month. And you're sitting there doing the math in your head. $580, that's tight, but it's doable. You can make that work. It's a nice car. You deserve a nice car. You've been working hard. And $580 a month feels manageable, like a phone bill but bigger. So you sign. And for the next 5 years, 60 months, that $580 leaves your account like clockwork. You barely think about it anymore. It's just part of life. The car gets you to work. It's reliable. It looks good. No regrets, right? Except here's the thing that the dealership will never tell you, that the commercials will never show you, and that your friends who all have car payments will never admit that $580 a month isn't costing you $580 a month. It's not even costing you the $34,800 you'll pay over 5 years. The real cost of that car payment, the full, honest, nobody talks about this cost, is closer to $400,000. And I know that sounds insane. I know that sounds like I'm making it up. But I'm going to show you the exact math, step by step. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at a car payment the same way again. My name is Max, and I want to help you learn how to make your money work more for you in your life. This channel is about pulling back the curtain on the financial decisions that quietly shape your future, especially the ones that everybody around you has normalized. If you want to see what's really going on with your money, subscribe, because we do this every single week. Okay, so here's what you've been told about car payments. You've been told they're normal, that everyone has one, that it's just the cost of transportation. You've been told that a car is an investment, or at least a necessary expense that justifies a monthly payment. And the industry has trained you to think about cars, not in terms of total price, but in terms of monthly payment. What monthly payment works for your budget? That's the first question they ask at the dealership. Not, what can you afford to buy outright? Not, what's the total cost over the life of the loan? Just, what monthly number can you absorb? And that framing, thinking about cars in terms of monthly payments rather than total cost, is one of the most expensive lies in personal finance. Because when you think monthly, $580 sounds like a streaming subscription that got out of hand. But when you think in total, the payments, the interest, the insurance premium, the depreciation, and the opportunity cost of every dollar that could have been invested, the number becomes genuinely staggering. The auto industry has spent decades training you to think monthly. And that training has cost the average American hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetime. Not because cars are bad, because the way we buy them is financially devastating, and nobody frames it honestly. Let me explain what I mean with an analogy. Imagine someone offered you a deal. They said, I'll give you a shiny metal box that loses 20% of its value the moment you take it, loses another 15% per year after that, costs you $200 a month just to keep running, requires $150 a month in insurance, and, oh, you have to pay me interest for the privilege of owning it. You'd look at that person like they were crazy. You'd say, that's the worst deal I've ever heard. But that's exactly what a new car is. The moment you drive it off the lot, it loses roughly 20% of its value. By year 5, it's worth about 40% of what you paid. Meanwhile, you've been paying interest on the original price, paying insurance on a vehicle that's worth less every month, and watching it decay in value while the loan balance barely moves. You're paying top dollar for a depreciating asset with a built-in loss structure. And the entire industry is organized around making this feel normal. But here's where it gets really interesting. The reason car payments are so destructive isn't just the money you spend. It's the money you can never invest. This is the concept of opportunity cost. And in the case of car payments, the opportunity cost is so large it should be criminal. But before I show you the math, let me explain why your brain falls for this. Because it's not stupidity. It's not even ignorance. It's a set of very specific psychological mechanisms that the auto industry exploits with surgical precision. The first is anchoring. When the salesperson says, the MSRP is $42,000, but we can do $38,000 for you, your brain anchors to the $42,000 and processes $38,000 as a deal. You feel like you saved $4,000. But you didn't save anything. You spent $38,000. The anchor distorted your perception of the price. The second is payment framing, the deliberate choice to present costs as monthly payments rather than totals. Research in behavioral economics shows that people are willing to pay significantly more for the same product when the cost is broken into small installments. A $580 monthly payment on a $38,000 car at 6.5% interest over 72 months actually costs you about $41,760 total. You paid nearly $4,000 in pure interest, but the salesperson never said $41,760. They said $580 a month. And your brain filed it under manageable. The third mechanism is social proof. Everyone you know has a car payment. Your parents had car payments. The idea that you could just not have one, that feels radical, almost irresponsible. The social norm is so strong that choosing a paid-off used car over a financed new one feels like a downgrade, rather than the financially brilliant move it actually is. None of this is your fault. These are billion-dollar industries applying century-old psychological research to separate you from your money. But understanding the game is the first step to stopping the bleed. Now let me show you the math, because this is where it gets genuinely hard to believe. The average car payment in the US right now is about $735 a month for a new car, with an average loan term of about 68 months. But let's use a more conservative number. $580 a month on a 60-month loan at 6.5%. That's a total of $34,800 in payments over 5 years, of which roughly $3,760 is pure interest. So the car cost you $34,800, but the actual asset is worth maybe $16,000 by the time it's paid off. You spent $34,800 to own something worth $16,000. That's an $18,800 loss in 5 years. But that's just the direct cost. Here's the opportunity cost, the part nobody calculates. If instead of that $580 car payment, you invested $580 a month in an index fund averaging 8% annual returns, here's what happens. After 5 years, the same 5 years you would have been making payments, you'd have about $42,600. That's $7,800 more than you paid for the car. Your money made money instead of losing money. After 10 years of investing, $580 a month, you'd have approximately $106,600. After 20 years, about $342,000. And after 30 years, which represents the span from your mid-20s to your mid-50s, you'd have roughly $862,000. Now, I know you're thinking, but Max, I can't not have a car. I need transportation, and you're absolutely right. So let's compare fairly. Instead of the $580 payment on a new car, you buy a reliable used car for $8,000 to $12,000. Cash. No payment. No interest. And you take the $580 you would have been paying and invest it. But wait, you need to account for maintenance on the used car. Let's be generous and say the used car costs you $200 a month more in maintenance and repairs than the new car would. So instead of investing $580, you invest $380. At $380 a month with 8% returns, you'd still have about $572,000 in 30 years. The used car strategy, even after accounting for higher maintenance, puts you over $500,000 ahead of the new car strategy. The car payment didn't cost you $34,800. It cost you $572,000 in wealth you never built. And here's the part that makes this even worse. Most people don't have one car payment in their life. They have a lifetime of car payments. The average person replaces their car every 6 to 7 years, and most of those purchases are financed. So it's not one 5-year payment. It's 5, 6, 7 cycles of payments over a lifetime, each one resetting the depreciation clock each one draining money that could have been compounding. If you paid $580 a month in car payments from age 25 to 55, 30 years of continuous payments, you would have spent approximately $208,800 on cars and interest. If you'd invested that same amount, you'd have $862,000. The lifetime cost of car payments isn't the $208,000 you spent. It's the $862,000 you didn't build. The gap over $650,000 is the price of thinking monthly instead of thinking compounded. And here's a detail that makes it even more brutal. During those 30 years of car payments, you also paid for insurance on newer, more expensive vehicles, roughly $150 to $200 more per month than you'd pay on a used car. That's another $54,000 to $72,000 in direct costs. And if even half of that insurance premium difference had been invested, it would add another $100,000 to $130,000 to the wealth gap. So the total real cost of a lifetime of new car payments versus the used car and invest strategy isn't $650,000. It's closer to $750,000 to $800,000, nearly $1 million. From a decision that most people make on a Saturday afternoon at a dealership because the salesperson said, "I can get you into this for $580 a month." And this is the part most people miss. Choosing to drive a paid-off used car isn't a sacrifice. It's not a sign that you can't afford something nicer. It's one of the most powerful wealth-building decisions you can make. Not because you're saving a few $100s a month, but because you're redirecting $500,000 from a depreciating asset to a compounding one. That's not frugality. That's strategy. And the identity shift matters here. The person who drives a paid-off car while investing $580 a month is practicing long-term thinking at the deepest level. They're choosing invisible wealth over visible status. They're operating on a different scoreboard than everyone around them, one that measures net worth, not curb appeal. And over time, that identity, the person who values building over appearing, becomes the engine that drives every other financial decision in their life. Here's a way to think about this that I find helpful. There are two types of spending: performance spending and foundation spending. Performance spending is buying things other people can see: the car, the clothes, the apartment. Foundation spending is putting money into things nobody can see: your investment account, your emergency fund, your retirement. And every dollar you have goes to one or the other. The car payment is the ultimate performance spend. It costs you the most, depreciates the fastest, and is visible to the most people. Choosing foundation over performance, especially when everyone around you is choosing the opposite, is a radical act. And radical acts build radical results. You're probably wondering what this looks like practically, so let me walk you through some scenarios. You're driving a reliable 2018 sedan you bought for $10,000 cash. Your coworker pulls up in a brand new SUV. For a moment, you feel a flicker of comparison. Then you check your investment account. It has $43,000 in it, money that's growing while you drive. Your coworker has a $780 payment, full coverage insurance at $220 a month, and a vehicle that's lost $8,000 in value since they bought it 6 months ago. You're building wealth. They're subsidizing a depreciating metal box, same parking lot. Completely different financial trajectory. A job opportunity opens up in a city 200 miles away. The pay is $15,000 more. Without a car payment and its associated financial stress, you can take the risk. You have savings. You have flexibility. You can buy a used car in the new city for $8,000 and start the job with zero financial baggage. Your coworker with the $780 payment can't take the risk. They're locked into a payment they can barely afford, and they can't sell the car without being underwater on the loan. Your mechanic tells you the used car needs $2,800 in repairs. Annoying? Yes. But you pay it from savings and you're still thousands of dollars ahead of where you'd be with a car payment. The repair feels expensive in the moment, but $2,800 in repairs on a paid-off car is still radically cheaper than $34,800 in payments on a new one. It's not even close. And here's how this changes your relationship with work. When you don't have a car payment, when you've eliminated $580 to $735 a month in mandatory outflow, your financial floor drops dramatically. You need less money to survive. And when you need less, you negotiate differently. You take career risks differently. You tolerate nonsense at work differently. Because the car payment isn't just a line item. It's a chain. It ties you to a specific income level. It makes you dependent on your current paycheck in a way that limits your options and negotiating power. People call this being car poor, earning a decent salary, but having so much of it committed to a vehicle that you have no financial flexibility. And car poor people make career decisions from desperation, not strategy. They stay in bad jobs. They accept low offers. They avoid risk because they literally cannot afford a gap in income. The car they thought was a reward for their hard work becomes the cage that traps them in a career they'd otherwise leave. I talked to someone once who calculated that their car payment, insurance, and gas cost them $1,100 a month. They were earning $4,800 a month after taxes. That means 23% of their take-home pay, nearly a quarter of everything they earned, went to their car. They were working roughly 1 week out of every month just to fund their vehicle. 1 entire week of their life, every month, dedicated to paying for transportation that was losing value. When they finally sold the car, bought a $9,000 used vehicle, and redirected the difference, they said it felt like getting a raise without changing jobs. Eliminating the car payment doesn't just save you money. It buys you freedom. The freedom to negotiate from strength. The freedom to take a career risk. The freedom to say no to things that don't serve you. And that freedom, exercised over a career, is worth far more than any car. Now, I need to be real about the trap that catches people even after they understand all this. You see the math. You agree. You decide to go used. And then the ego kicks in. You see the car your friend just bought. You see the Instagram posts. You hear someone make a comment about your older car. And the social pressure, the same social proof mechanism the auto industry exploits, starts pulling you back toward the dealership. Maybe just this once. I'll get a modest new car. Not expensive, just new. And just new. Costs you $15,000 to $20,000 in depreciation the moment you drive it home. That's depreciation alone and before a single payment. And that $15,000 invested for 20 years at 8% would have been about $70,000. You traded $70,000 in future wealth for the feeling of a new car for about 6 months before it just became your car. I'm not saying never buy a new car. If you're financially independent, if your investments are on track, if you've built real wealth, buy whatever you want. But during the building years, your 20s, 30s, and early 40s, every dollar directed toward a depreciating asset is a dollar stolen from your compounding engine at the exact moment when compounding has the most time to work. That's not sacrifice. That's the single highest return financial decision most people can make, and the one most people refuse to make because it doesn't look cool in the parking lot. So here's where I want to leave you. The auto industry has spent billions of dollars convincing you that your car is a reflection of your success, that you deserve a new one, that a monthly payment is just the price of being an adult. And most people never question any of it. They sign, they pay, they sign again, and they do it for 30 years without ever calculating what it actually costs them. Now you know, the number isn't $580. It's not $34,800. It's not even $208,800. The real cost of a lifetime of car payments, when you factor in the wealth those dollars could have built, is somewhere north of $650,000. For most people, their car payment is the single largest obstacle between them and financial freedom. Not their salary, not their spending habits, their car. And the most empowering part of that truth is that it's a choice. You can choose to keep doing it. And now at least you're choosing with your eyes open. Or you can choose to step off the treadmill, buy reliable, buy used, pay cash, and take every dollar that would have gone to a depreciating asset and point it toward one that compounds. The car in the parking lot rusts. The money in the market grows. Same dollar, radically different destination. You get to pick which one you feed, and now you know what it actually costs. Choose accordingly.